This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. That's my closet full of all the stuff that I love. And today, with only about 3 or 4 more days left in the Barnes & Noble 50% off Criterion sale as of this recording, we're going to recommend 8 more Criterion discs that you may find of interest. And this time, we're going to focus on thrillers. Let's check it out. Now, let me say a few things up front. First of all, some of these films, I'm going to recommend these 8 films, you might say, that's really not a thriller, or is that really a thriller? Some of them are debatable. We'll talk about that a little bit more at the ending here, but all of these I'm going to talk about are available on Blu-ray and DVD, and if you're not interested in buying these, I'll also let you know another way you can see the films. And as far as extra features go, I'm not going to list them all. You can look on Criterion.com to find those extra features. So we're going to start off with 2 from French director Henri-Georges Clouzet. Sometimes people refer to him as the French Alfred Hitchcock. And we're going to start with his classic film, The Wages of Fear. This is from 1953. It's in black and white and it's in French. This is about 4 desperate men who we are introduced to them at the beginning of the film so that we know their motivation for going on this suicide mission, which is to drive these trucks filled with explosive nitroglycerin through this very treacherous mountain road full of sharp turns and bumps, and it's very suspenseful, and amazingly the suspense is sustained throughout. It's a fairly long running time, which is about 147 minutes. It was remade as a film called Sorcerer in 1977, directed by William Friedkin, which I also do recommend. You can rent or buy The Wages of Fear. It's also showing right now on the Criterion Channel and HBO Max. The other thriller I recommend by the director Clouzot is his other classic, Diabolique. This is from 1955, black and white, also in French. This is about the wife and mistress of a disliked school principal who plan to murder him with what they think is a perfect alibi. This is the film that really drew comparisons between Clouzot and Alfred Hitchcock. The plot and the ending of this film has been repeated in several films with different variations. Clouzot's wife, Vera Clouzot, appears in this film, and she was also in The Wages of Fear. You can buy or rent this one. It's also on the Criterion Channel right now and on HBO Max. Next up, 2 directors who only made 1 or 2 feature films, and they're rather disturbing films, by the way. These 2 films are not for everybody, and we're talking about Something Wild from 1961 in black and white. This is definitely not to be confused with the 1986 film by Jonathan Demme, which was a comedy and had the same exact title. So this is nothing like that at all. This is about a young rape victim who attempts suicide, but then is rescued by a man who may not be the hero that he appears to be. This is a prime example of the breakthrough in acting styles developed through the actor's studio. It was directed by Jack Garfien. He only made 2 feature films, and Carol Baker is the star here, and she was Garfien's wife and his student in the actor's studio. And she made several films directed by Umberto Lenzi. Those are available in a box set on Severin, by the way. Her co-star here is Ralph Meeker, who's probably best known for Kiss Me Deadly, which is also on the Criterion label. Both of these performances are very intense. This film is very dark and very claustrophobic, you might say. You can rent or buy Something Wild. The other disturbing, rather dark film that was directed by someone who only made 1 feature film is The Honeymoon Killers. This is from 1970 in black and white. This is about an overweight, lonely woman who hooks up with this very smooth-talking con man, and she just goes along with all the con jobs that he wants to pull. It was directed by Leonard Castle, his only feature film. It was based on a true story. This is almost like an exploitation film. It's pretty grungy and looks kind of cheap in a way. It was a favorite of the director John Waters, so that probably lets you know where this is coming from. But surprisingly, director Francois Truffaut said it was his favorite American film. Shirley Stoller is the star here. She would be a perfect fit in a John Waters film. And she was also very memorable in the film Seven Beauties. Her co-star is Tony Lobianco. He was in The French Connection and Serpico, many other films and TV shows. You can rent or buy The Honeymoon Killers. It's also on the Criterion channel and on HBO Max. Next up, we're going to look at two more foreign thrillers, starting with Panique from 1946. This is in black and white, in French. This is about a recluse who is accused of murdering a woman by his neighbors simply because his neighbors just think he's a weirdo. A lot of themes and overtones of mob mentality, especially during World War II. This was remade as a film called Monsieur Hire in 1989, and it was directed by Julien Duvivier, who is regarded as a legendary French director. He directed a film called Pepe Le Moko, which I have not seen, but many people believe that is the very first film noir. I believe it was made in the late 30s. You can rent or buy Panique. It's also on the Criterion channel. This next foreign thriller is actually the newest one in this episode and the only one in color, and that is Phoenix from 2014. This one's in German. It's about a disfigured Holocaust survivor who sets out to determine if the man she loved betrayed her trust and turned her in. She's Jewish, he's Gentile. The setting is 1945 Berlin, so right after World War II. As you watch this, you can see this is heavily influenced by classic films like Eyes Without a Face and Vertigo. Nina Haas is the star here. She was seen most recently in the film Tar. This was directed by Christian Petzold. His newest film, A Fire, I have not seen, but it's just started showing on their Criterion channel. It's gotten a lot of praise. For you jazz fans out there, the jazz composition Speak Low is a recurring motif repeated throughout this film in various forms, vocal, instrumental, different types of styles instrumentally. So I really like that element too. For what it's worth, the Mrs. Kazdoy Closet didn't care for this film. I think she thought it was too slow. So be aware, it might be kind of a slow burn that either works for you or doesn't. You can rent or buy Phoenix. It's also on the Criterion channel right now and on AMC Plus. Our last two thrillers that we're going to recommend are by two well-known American directors. The first one is Riot in Cell Block 11. It's from 1954 in black and white. This is some prisoners who are fed up with the inhumane conditions in the prison, so they decide to rebel and a riot breaks out. It was shot at Folsom Prison, and they used real inmates and guards as extras in this film, so it has a very gritty documentary-like quality to it. The producer, Walter Wanger, pretty famous producer, he had just done time for about, I think, 4 months in prison, and he was so appalled by the conditions inside the prison system that he decided that he wanted to get this film made. It was directed by Don Siegel, who's made some fantastic films like the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Killers, the 1964 version, Escape from Alcatraz, Dirty Harry, many others. And it stars the great character actor Neville Brand, who I think is a little underrated, but I always loved seeing him pop up in films when I was a kid growing up. He's in several noirs like DOA, Where the Sidewalk Ends, Kansas City Confidential. There's been a lot of prison films too. You can rent or buy Riot in Cell Block 11. Our final recommended thriller is by another fantastic American director, and that is the film Seconds from 1966 in black and white. This is about an unhappy middle-aged man who undergoes a procedure that will fake his own death and give him a new youthful look and identity, and he turns into Rock Hudson. This was directed by John Frankenheimer, who made some fantastic films like The Manchurian Candidate, The Train, and Black Sunday, among others. Rock Hudson's in here, but this is not the Rock Hudson of pillow talk and those Doris Day movies. This is a very unusual, much darker role for Rock Hudson, and the film itself is quite unusual, veering into science fiction territory. I would say it's a little bit dated here and there, for that's very 60s-ish in some places, but otherwise recommended. You can rent or you can buy seconds. So those are my 8 recommended thrillers on the Criterion label. Just keep in mind that when I said they're streaming on certain services, that's as of this recording. Things can change. Also, you can always check out YouTube. Sometimes these films are on there, sometimes for free. Quality varies, of course. But as I noted at the beginning of this episode, it is debatable whether some of these films will be labeled as strictly thrillers. Some are a psychological drama, some are a little bit film noir, some action, some science fiction. But, why split hairs about this? I think all of them have some thriller characteristics to them. So feel free to leave a comment or suggestion down below. I would like to thank the following people who've left comments since our last episode. That would be Roger, Martin, Tina, Chris, Richard, Sid, and Steven. Thank you for taking the time to comment. Leave a thumbs up. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. Share this with your friends and neighbors. We are very close, fewer than 10, I think, from our next goal of 725 subscribers. So thank you so much for subscribing. Welcome to our newest subscriber since our last episode, Alexander. I had to look that one up on the Google Translate. I hope I got that right. Tom and Cass, thank you so much for subscribing. Subscribing is free. Also free is we're on the Letterboxd app. That's where we leave brief written reviews of other things we're watching, not talked about on this channel. We're under the Kazdoy closet. There's a link in the notes down below how to get there. Most recently, we watched And God Said to Cain, May, and the Giant Gila Monster. So check those out. Otherwise, hope you like this one. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.